The 2026 FIFA World Cup changes how international football works. The sheer size of this tournament expansion is actually hard to wrap your head around. This tournament is significantly larger and utilizes a complex geographic structure, making it unlike any previous competition in the sport's history. For decades, the World Cup usually went to one host nation or a small group of nearby countries. By June 7, 2026, the way people watch and play football has changed completely, transforming the entire global landscape of the sport. The 2026 tournament moves through a North American corridor including the United States, Mexico, and Canada. This goes beyond sport. Three nations must now coordinate their infrastructure and economies for this massive logistical and geopolitical undertaking. The tournament grew slowly for years, but this recent expansion fundamentally changes how the entire competition actually functions. FIFA is expanding the tournament to include more nations, following their recent push to increase global participation in the game. Football is expanding into markets where other sports have long held control, aiming to grow its global audience and presence. This rapid expansion creates real problems, specifically the long travel distances between matches and difficult international trade laws that complicate logistics. The biggest change is the scale. The tournament now includes 48 competing teams, a significant expansion from previous formats. The field expands significantly beyond the 3-2 team format we saw recently. This massive structural change will fundamentally alter the tournament's scale. With the addition of more teams, the league schedule expanded significantly, growing to a massive 4 total matches. Organizers are using 16 different cities and venues to host the tournament. This massive knockout bracket will force every squad to prove their actual depth. The tournament features top players. Fans should watch for Kylian Mbappé, Lamine Yamal, Harry Kane, and Lionel Messi, as these stars will dominate the pitch during the matches. Top government officials are currently debating the specific economic consequences of these policies. The USMCA trade agreement faces its mandatory review right now, creating significant political pressure. Consumers are changing how they spend money, and this tournament captures that new trend. New figures show nearly 75% of Americans now choose spending disposable income on experiences instead of buying physical goods. The World Cup will drive huge revenue for travel and hospitality businesses. The Points Guy founder Brian Kelly is working with On Location, the official hospitality provider, to help fans manage the 206 tournament logistics. For players, this expansion means more than glory. They must survive the harsh, changing weather. Miami's extreme heat might actually injure players during games. These rising temperatures pose a significant physical risk to athletes on the field. Constant travel and shifting sleep schedules might prove just as difficult as facing the opposing teams. The 2006 World Cup functions as a massive experiment in globalized sport, far beyond a simple football tournament. If the 48-team model works, expect even bigger structural shifts in the coming years. FIFA is considering expanding the 2030 World Cup from 48 to 64 teams as a one-off to commemorate the tournament's 100th anniversary. The proposal was made by a representative of Uruguay's FIFA Council. The women's game is already expanding globally. The 2031 Women's World Cup will take place across the United States, Mexico, Jamaica, and Costa Rica, marking a significant multi-nation hosting milestone. Over 30 U.S. cities already want to host matches for the tournament. This growing interest reflects a massive scale expansion of the event. Economic risks match the potential rewards. New York City expects massive output, but critics argue taxpayers will foot the bill for expensive infrastructure and security upgrades required for the project's long-term implementation. Whether this tournament succeeds depends on more than goals. Organizers must actually deliver on their massive logistical and economic promises to the public. More matches mean we have to rewrite the entire tournament schedule from scratch. The group stage expands to 12 groups, moving away from the usual 8. This new structure forces the competition to run much longer than any previous editions did. This packed schedule will exhaust every squad. Managers can't just rely on their starting 11 anymore. They need rotation to survive the upcoming months. Coaches must rotate players to stay competitive. Adding more teams also changes how the math works for the knockout round brackets. The round of 3-2 adds real pressure as the tournament bracket begins to tighten. Big teams might exit the tournament much sooner than predicted. This expanded format forces teams to change their entire group stage preparation strategy. Mistakes are now much costlier. One loss in a bigger pool might still trigger an unexpected jump forward. Fans face massive travel hurdles. Moving between host cities like Vancouver and Mexico City requires long, expensive flights. Moving between these venues requires more logistical planning than any previous single tournament. This wide geography might fragment the fan experience. Supporters often feel isolated from the tournament's main energy and crowd. Officials also use this tournament to test new officiating technology. Referees need better VAR systems now. As match schedules grow, officials must make precise, real-time calls that withstand constant high-pressure scrutiny from every angle. The amount of data processed during these games will establish a new technical benchmark. Managing high-stakes officiating across several time zones creates a massive technical hurdle for organizers. The 2026 tournament moves away from single-host setups toward a decentralized hosting model. Instead of relying on one host city, the organizers spread the event across various stadiums and different urban centers throughout the entire region. The 2026 tournament marks a new era, expanding from 32 to 48 teams. How this North American model performs will decide the future of global competition. More matches mean teams must completely change how they handle player recovery protocols. Doctors must now track how playing in extreme heat or cold affects player bodies. With the tournament spanning the United States, Canada, and Mexico, teams must navigate hurdles like heat and travel. Unpredictable weather might decide these matches, potentially disrupting the flow of play. This expansion also changes how the group stage plays out on the pitch, altering the strategic intensity of every game. Adding more teams makes the old group of death idea much harder to predict. New math permutations mean goal difference could now carry more weight when deciding which teams progress. This forces teams to keep attacking aggressively even when they have already secured a clear victory. This tournament requires a huge upgrade to our digital broadcasting setup. Broadcasters and streamers now struggle to handle more simultaneous high-definition feeds. Satellite and fiber optic networks in these three nations will face unprecedented traffic levels this year. This digital strain mimics the actual physical weight athletes carry during a match. The 2026 tournament will expand from 32 to 48 teams, creating a massive field. Small nations with fewer players often lack the depth to sustain high intensity during long seasons. Teams that handle a brutal schedule without dropping points will beat those that simply struggle to compete. This tournament tests how much money the North American sports market can actually absorb. Merging these three national infrastructures provides a practical, scalable template for upcoming multi-nation bidding processes across the globe. If this model works, single-nation hosting for major global events will likely end, changing how we host. Football moved from small local celebrations to a massive festival across the entire continent. Policing and managing security across this massive, sprawling territory is a difficult, constant, and exhausting struggle. Managing police work across borders and different jurisdictions creates unprecedented logistical hurdles for modern investigators. Each matchday forces three separate national security frameworks to work together perfectly. Everyone is waiting to see if this current level of cooperation actually survives the upcoming high-stakes negotiations. When the whistle blows on June 11, everyone is watching. This new format might include more teams, but the massive logistics could actually ruin the tournament schedule. Subscribe and follow us to get every update as this tournament progresses. What is your take on the 48-team expansion? Drop your thoughts in the comments.